Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm Casey.
And I'm Viviana.
And this is our
Frank Newscast.
And today we're going to be talking about the diary of Anne Frank. And to start off, Anne Frank is the author of the diary, and she was born on June 12, 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany. Anne grows from an innocent, precious young teenage girl to an empathetic and sensitive thinker at the age of only 15. She dies of typhus disease in the concentration camp at Bergen-Belsen in late February or early March of 1945.
Mr. and Mrs. Van Pelt are work partners with the Franks who also go into hiding with them. Anne only talks about them when they are in conflict with each other or Mrs. Van Daan is flirtatious with Mr. Frank. Mr. Van Daan dies in the gas chambers at Auschwitz concentration camp, and Mrs. Van Daan's death is unknown.
Otto Frank, or Anne's father, born into a wealthy Frankfurt family. Mr. Frank was born on May 12, 1889. After the Nazis came into power, he moved his family to Amsterdam in 1933. He made a living selling products until him and his family were forced to go into hiding. Anne, in her diary, seems to be closest to her father because she feels he understands her point on things a lot better than anyone else.
Peter Van Pelt is the teenage son of Van Daans. In Anne's diary, she first sees Peter as annoying and lazy, but later in her diary they become close friends. During their time in hiding, Anne and Peter develop a romantic connection towards each other. Peter becomes Anne's first kiss. He later on dies on May 5th, 1945, 3 days before the concentration camp is liberated.
Margot Frank, Anne's older sister, was also born in Frankfurt in 1926. She doesn't get very much attention in Anne's diary. Anne and her sister Margot do not form a close relationship during their time of hiding, and Margot only appears in the diary when she is the cause of jealousy or anger. She dies of typhus disease also.
Miep dies is the secretary at Mr. Frank's office who also helps them into hiding. Anne describes Miep as a warm-hearted woman who wants nothing more than to help them. Miep finds Anne's diary long after they are caught and keeps it hidden away until Mr. Frank returns in 1945. Miep dies in 2010 at the age of 100.
Edith Frank, Anne's mother, in Anne's diary she feels little closeness or sympathy for her mother, and they have little relationship with each other. Mrs. Frank dies of hunger in Auschwitz in January 1945.
Mr. Kugler and Mr. Clement, known as Mr. Brailer and Mr. Kufius, are two men who helped the Franks into hiding. Anne doesn't say much about them in her diary, but the fact that they helped tell the Franks about news from the war and outside world helps, and they also bring them food.
Albert Dussel, or Fritz Pfeffer, is an acquaintance of the Franks who is also hiding with them. He and Anne have to share the same room. She finds him to be very difficult to handle because the brunt of his odd personality, hygiene habits, lectures, and controllingness. He dies on December 20th, 1944 at Nung Ame concentration camp.
The three major motifs in the story are becoming a woman, fear, and hope. One theme from the motifs that I found was the inward versus outward self of Anne Frank. In this theme, it ties with becoming a woman because in her diary she sees herself as two Annes, the outside Anne, who everyone sees as lively and loving as possible, and the inside as sensitive and very misunderstanding of herself. And the overall setting conflict of this story is, the setting is that they went into hiding, two families, and one guy went into hiding because of World War II when Adolf Hitler and the Nazis went into power. They went into hiding to save themselves, and the overall conflict of this diary is that she has to overcome the problems of living in a small space for 2 years and having to live with not only her family but two others. And this concludes our
Anne Frank Newscast.